Hey everybody, it's Megan with College Uncomplicated. Welcome to our episode of Real Talk. Today I have...
My name is Mark Nentwig. I grew up in College Station, and I went to Texas A&M University, and I have a degree in biology.
My name is Andrea. I'm from Brownsville, Texas. I studied at the University of Texas, and I graduated with a degree in communication studies and in linguistics.
Hello, my name's Craig. I am originally from College Station, but I am currently going to the University of Texas and trying to get a degree in psychology.
Cool. So our question this week is, how does high school compare to college?
It doesn't.
Short answer, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Very different. The only similarity, I guess, scholastically, that there are some high schools that have like really competitive like AP classes. Some AP classes were harder than college classes. Like literally actually harder. So I would say that a good hard AP class is a good and
I feel like it's harder because it's like hard AP classes, you have work like all the fucking time. Like you have
there's so much busy work in those classes.
There's so much. Whereas in college they pretty much would like, here's a chapter, you need to read this tonight and tomorrow we'll discuss it. And it's like, okay, that's a lot of work, but you don't have to like turn in things to affect your grade.
So you do have to be more self-motivated. Also you have to learn how you learn, because you're not often given worksheets that basically break down the learning process for you. You have to then learn, how do I break down the learning process to learn myself?
Are you talking about like in high school you have to be self-taught?
No, in college you have to be self-taught. In high school, everything's broken down for you. They literally take you step by step through the entire process, and it's like, this is how you learn this stuff.
So although the AP courses might be harder as far as the material you're covering, you have someone who's babying you
throughout the way, which is the difference. In college, you really don't.
You really don't.
You see like the big difference there, which is that in high school, they are like pushing you through the curriculum and trying to like get you to get a good grade. In college, they don't care. In college, you already
paid your tuition.
Yeah, you're there. Wow. They leave it up to you. They're not
as long as the grades
you to be able to do it by yourself.
That's true. That's something that can be discussed.
To hit the bell curve.
They want their students' grades to average around the B and in the 80s. You don't want the majority of your students getting A's. You don't want the majority of your students failing. You want everything to smooth out.
But there's the college bell curve sits at the C level.
Oh, really?
I've had so many professors like say that to students. Like,
well, see,
hey,
but here's something that I wanted to discuss, because I never took AP courses because I never looked into studying sciences as a major or going into the hard sciences.
But even if you're not in sciences, I mean, there's AP English, there's AP Spanish.
But I feel like you had such a different college experience than me because you always went in with bio. So you took AP courses in hard sciences and maths. And then you did the same thing in English. And then going into college, these were a lot of the majority of your courses.
For sure.
When I was much more liberal in my courses. But
liberal arts.
So that's I did.
I was liberal.
Well, I was liberal. No. But I did one degree. The linguistics falls under liberal arts, and communication studies falls under the College of Communication. So I actually graduated from the two different colleges in the university.
At UT Austin.
At UT Austin. One thing though is that's interesting about what I noticed. I had several friends that were doing chemical engineering, bio was a big one, is that their bell curve, for the most part, you feel like you're failing the course until you finally get to the end of the semester and you get like a C, and you're like, thank God I got this C. When I felt like for my classes, if I was on the A-B level, I was doing well. If I was hitting below B or like below in the lower 80s or into the C's, there was something genuinely wrong, and I needed to discuss it with my professor. And why am I struggling? When I mean the whole thing is
the GPA still stands the same as far as like what is good or not. So like if you want to get into like a medical school or a medical profession, PA school, which is what I want to do, for example, like you still have to have like the average of a 3.5 GPA.
Yeah.
So what you actually have to get letter-wise, I would say, is kind of similar. I think they are more lenient towards slightly lower grades. However, yeah, I mean, like the average in the classes was a C. They're like, if you have a C, you're hitting.
You're grasping the material and you're
good.
doing well. Yeah.
Like if you have an A, you know, that's pretty,
so that means, you know, there's a lot of students out there that feel like they're failing for most of the semester and they're struggling.
And then
why don't we talk a little bit about how grades and assignments differ between high school and college?
That's something that's really different high school to college, is just how the material is presented and how you're graded on it. One of the things that I felt like with high school, it's a lot of busy work. You have multitudes of assignments, and that gives you your cumulative grade.
So true.
So I mean, you know, you'll have up to 30 or 40 grades that are taken into account for that semester, if not more. They'll do so much extra credit, so many opportunities to get you to succeed.
The grade, yeah.
In college, I had very, very many courses where you had a midterm and a final, and that was it. And they were essay-based, and there were no real study guides. It was just all the, you know, okay, so to study for this exam, review everything we've ever covered in class.
Here's the book.
Yeah.
That's your study guide.
There you go.
Yeah. And it is
the whole book.
And that's something too, is that a lot of teachers are very different in their styles. What's difficult about those kind of classes where you only have like a midterm and a final is you don't learn how your teacher grades or what they really expect from you until half of your grades have already been turned in. So you really have to work hard on that last one to accommodate it. Everyone reads differently. Office hours are huge. Yeah, getting to know your professor.
And that, I feel like, really goes for liberal arts majors. If most of your classes are writing-based or paper-based, I would always take outlines or whatever to my professors and see if they, like, saw any flaws in my arguments, and then they would actually give me feedback and therefore give me a better grade because I wrote a better paper. So I feel like one of the biggest things that I've taken from college is, like, don't be afraid to ask for help or to ask questions. Especially from people that maybe you're a little uncomfortable to ask, like they're there to help you. And if they say no, they're just going to say no, then you can talk to another student.
Really pay attention in class because they are going to talk about the things that they care about and they're going to emphasize it, and you can learn your professor. Actually, like, focus on him, be like, you know, what does he seem interested in? What is his main points or her main points? And because you after a while of being in college, I could predict what was like 75% of what was going to be on my test based off my professor, and like that's really important.
This isn't to negate this is actually something that should be, you know, when you're picking a class. There's 6 or 7 professors that offer the course. Look at the ratings the professors get and see if it's something you would mesh with. RateMyProfessor.com. I didn't know if we were able to plug that.
Use it.
Read the syllabus if it's available.
Yeah, a lot of people will post old syllabi online. But so, and it's not to say that any professor is giving a better or worse education, but it might work with your style better. I was much more, obviously, of a talker and a presentation. I preferred classes that based a lot more on presentation and essays than I did straight examination. And so I would look into that before I started any kind of coursework.
Yeah, one big thing that I was thinking about, I mean, I can't really remember in high school. I don't think that things were ever really graded this way, but something that's a big deal in most college classes, most courses, is that the final exams are like the bulk of your grade.
And they're often cumulative.
Yeah, so that's a huge transition from where you're given a bunch of homework, a bunch of busy work that is in a lot of ways designed to bring your grade up. But in a college course, in most of them, you'll have a few assignments, and then at the end of the semester, you'll get a final, which you need to understand, usually it's cumulative, and usually you'll need to understand everything that happened, and you're going to be graded on that, and then that's going to make up most of your grade, which is sometimes a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing, probably most of the time it's a bad thing.
The academics, obviously, between high school and college are very different. But what about, like, the more experiential side of...
The atmosphere?
Yes, the atmosphere. So, one of the biggest things that I noticed, and that what really made me fall in love with college that I felt like was different from high school, is that you could take classes that you actually gave a shit about. and like people are in the class and they love it, then you can see it in everybody else, and it like gets you excited and you actually want to like read about it. Did anybody else feel
well, that's what I was trying to describe earlier when I was like, oh, I was really liberal in my courses because I didn't have a major that I was seeking. I was taking a lot of classes because it sounded cool and it sounded fun, and it's something that I always kind of wanted to study, but it didn't fall under the basic studies that you get from grade school all the way through high school. You know, you have your 6 or 7 basic subjects that you study when you start going to school in kindergarten and first grade, and then you go off to college and there's so much more. It's definitely like a positive. I thought you do still have to take your basics, which I think is important. I'm glad I think
that's a good experience.
I'm glad I took some maths. Like I'm definitely smarter
it gives
for it.
A general like social ability to communicate. So when like college students get together and they talk, they have a lot of things to talk about because they've all taken English, they've all taken, lots of people take psychology, lots of people take sociology, and it gives a level of information that they can talk about. And it creates interesting conversations from your basics, even if it's not particular to your major. I believe it gives like good conversational pieces.
It's like something I love, like the kind of has to do with that, but is how the atmosphere is so different because 99% of the people that you run into at a college want to be there. And it's such a huge difference from high school where you go to high school and you see it a little bit in community college, but if you're in high school, you know deep down you don't want to be there, but more so than that, you see other students that will, people are going to detention, people are getting suspended because they're like flashing people in class or something like that. Just people don't want to. A lot of people don't want to be. Hey, it happens. People don't want to be there.
You grew up in College Station, clearly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
But so people don't want to be there. But when you go to a college, you're in a place where everyone that is there has paid, probably, like if you're in a university, thousands of dollars to be there. The people that are there want to be there.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of like energy around a lot of people who are in it for the same not maybe in it for the same reasons as you, but they are passionate about the same topics. And they're learning about it, and they're going into a depth that they haven't before. So you're going through an experience where they're actually like expanding their ability to think and to process things, and you're doing it with a bunch of people, and
everyone is pursuing the same goal.
Who want to be there. And so they're actually trying, so they're actually learning these
even
things.
If they don't want to be there, they're still trying because, again, there's that money.
There's money involved.
And this is a really derogatory thing to think about high school, but when I was in it, I often felt like it was glorified babysitting. Between, 8 a.m. to 3:15 when you get let out, we're just babysitting you. And in college, the professor doesn't give a shit. Like, you can either show up to class or not. Don't interrupt his fucking class, because I've had several professors. Or her fucking class. True.
Get out.
Yeah, like that's their time and that's their space. You don't have to be there.
However, like in classes where debate is encouraged, then, you definitely can challenge the professor. Don't be afraid to challenge your professor. College, the relationship between the professor and the student can be a very, like, interactive thing where you can, like, question why they believe what they do, especially, and for me, like, I took a lot of science classes, so it was, a lot of those classes were very, like, this is the information, learn the information, there's not a lot of questions.
But it's very factual.
Yeah, it's a very factual-based degree, but, like, I took Southeast Asian geography, and a lot of it was about the state of politics in the area and stuff. It was a very interactive, a very debate-based class. And in there, and also anthropology, like, I would question my professors and why they believe certain things. Like, I had a professor mention that they believed that it was more understandable to segregate based on financial basis than on race. And I was like, well, so I really questioned. I was like, why do you believe that? Why is it acceptable to segregate based on financial means versus, but be like, well, race is totally out of the question. Don't do it with race. But, so like, if you're in those kinds of classes where debate is encouraged, which I think those are great classes, then do question your professor and don't just take everything at face value.
And most of those classes actually encourage
They do,
that.
yeah, and,
like,
and
they
the
don't
professor
think
will
that
verbalize.
the professor doesn't present information as if he or she is like the end all be all, and they are telling you the absolute truth.
Most of the professors that are there at the university, they'll want to talk to you about these things that they're teaching, because these are the things that they're studying. These are the things that they're looking at in their career. And even when it comes to the sciences, especially if you look into like biology or something, it's like there's still things we don't know, and they'll like to talk about it. And it's a huge difference from, being in a college classroom talking about biological systems that are still unknown, and being in a high school classroom where the teacher wants you to shut up.
One of the biggest differences, though, that I noticed when I went to college, like between college and high school, is the way that you navigate the college landscape in order to make friends. Like, you're not captivated in one class or a couple of classes where the same people are like shifted out. You're actually interacting with a lot more people, and I find it to be a little bit harder to make friends in college than it is in high school.
I would agree with that,
Yeah, I mean, I'd expand on that and say, for the reason really is the amount of time you spend with people. In high school, you're being herded from class to class, typically with the same people. In college, you're getting such a varied experience. Someone might be taking a course with you, and they have a completely different major, completely different schedule. They're from a completely different part of the world.
In high school, you are making friends that are just you're making friends that are people to hang out with after school, to hang out with during lunchtime. Like, it's basically you're meeting people to help you avoid work, to avoid the schoolwork. Whereas in college, that's not a goal anymore. You're not just trying to get through the day. In college, you're trying to make friends that are equally interested in the subjects as you are, which can be kind of hard. And I feel like every semester I've at least met at least one person that I kind of got along with in a class, and we would study together just because everyone's looking for that in the class. But sometimes it's hard because other people might prefer to study a different way than you do. Some people just have different free times than you do, and it's just hard to network with people because of that.
I made a lot of my friends through the dorms. I still have friends who are like, oh, floor 5, we represent those times. And then, all the clubs and extracurricular activities you get into. Yeah. And making friends in class is a great idea, like you said, for studying, exchanging notes, spending study time together. Usually you kind of see if you vibe with someone on little things like, can I borrow a pencil? Did you take notes on this? Yeah. And if you get along with that person, great. I feel like I would make a friend a semester, and that didn't seem like a lot. And sometimes, after a few semesters, you weren't friends with that person anymore. But the quality of friendship was a lot better.
Final thoughts, otherwise this is going to go on.
Well, so final thoughts on...
College is way different than high school.
And it's better.
It's a lot more, if you're into intellectual study and into that realm of things, it's going to be a lot more beneficial.
I mean, I guess even on the socializing field too, you're with like-minded intellectual people, but you're able to expand socially because you're not stuck with the same people forever.
True story.
Everything's different and ever changing.
You can definitely try on different
You get
cloaks.
to pick your friendships, and you get to pick your courses, and everything's dependent on what you want.
And my final thing on making friends in college is if you just happen to go through high school and maybe you were not very social and maybe didn't have that many interactions because you were actually paying attention, or doing the coursework, which is a good thing. College can give you an opportunity to then, you'll go to class, you'll meet people there who were just like you, they actually wanted to learn about what they were, aspiring to or whatever, and you can make friends that way. And that's, if you didn't really get that in high school, college is a nice second chance to do that.
True. High school versus college, though. Final thoughts.
College!
Different and better? Can we?
Yeah, different and better. We can agree on that. Different and better.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for watching this episode of Real Talk. Make sure to like the video if you liked it. Also subscribe to College Uncomplicated. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter or Pinterest at College Uncomp. And check us out next week. Later.
Woo! But if you're trying to get a good GPA, let's say, you know, your high school transcript is not that great, and you're trying to build up a GPA, you're trying to understand how, like, the beginnings of college, and you're still not even sure where you want to go, starting out at a community college and taking basics and doing well in them is a great, easy way to transfer.
And it'll give you confidence.